Well, I suppose like a coach and a team of athletes, much of what goes on in this room is designed to get you ready to tackle the challenges of the Christian life. Much of what is dispensed from the platform here each week is really crafted so that you can be trained and ready to face the obstacles that are inevitable in your sanctification. Much of what I'm doing when I'm studying Scripture and preparing outlines is making sure that what's given to you is helpful to really get you where you need to be able to stand firm against the corrupting forces in this world, to overcome temptation, to be able to stand firm in a world that's not helpful to your faith, it's hostile to your faith. And I hope that each week you sense that there is that preparation that you leave with. That, after all, is my job description according to Ephesians chapter 4. My job is to equip you, to prepare you, to train you to do the work of the Christian life. That's what the pastor is commissioned to do. But as your coach, if I am your coach, I would like to take a break and a pause from the training this morning and simply remind you that it is good to be a Christian. It is a great thing to be on the team. And I suppose coaches from time to time, that is a good thing to stop and say, yes, let's talk about what a privilege it is to be on the team, what an honor it is to wear the jersey, to don the letterman's jacket. There is something to be said for that should motivate and inspire. But just to stop and do that as Christians, I think, is helpful, particularly because the Christian life is filled with difficulty. It is costly, and yet it's good to be a Christian. It is filled with self-denial and sacrifice, but it is really good to be an adopted child of God. There are always going to be struggles in this world in particular because we stand with Christ, but it is really good to know that we are disciples of Christ. Yeah, it's hard, I understand. And there's lots of responsibilities in being a Christian, but it is really good to be one. I think as we think that through, we couldn't find a passage that would motivate us in that regard and encourage us more than the passage that I have picked out for you this morning to preach on, and that's from Colossians chapter 1, verses 12, 13, and 14. Those three simple verses give us what I think are three of the best reasons to stand back and say it is really good to be on God's team. And if you look at the context of this, I'd like you to turn there and follow along as I read it. You can see the context beginning in verse number 9. He's already brought up in this prayer for the Colossians a lot of the things that are responsibilities, like growing in the knowledge of His will in verse 9. Just reminding us through this prayer in verse 10 to walk in a manner that's pleasing to the Lord. Verse 11, it ends with these words that we need endurance and we need to acquire patience. I mean, we preach about those things all the time, and it's important. That's what a pastor's job is. And yet, Paul stops asking for things. He stops praying that they would have things developed in their lives as he reaches verse number 12 and basically says, now I want to thank God for what you already have, what you fully possess. He leads them to rejoice in these three simple verses in terms of why it's important and great to be a follower of Christ. Take a look at these.